Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, June 16th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards we are starting our day off with today. Four of double fours. We've got our Four of Wands in its reversal, in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its upright. You know, remember what I said? This is a continuation on yesterday's reading. Remember what I said? And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to see this here. So let me walk you through it. You know, the thing with the Gemini energy, this is exactly what we were talking about in relationality to the difference between fickleness and pragmatism. Okay, so we were talking a lot about this because the ability to identify a manifestation goal is what moves us forward, right? But when we often feel like that's the problem that we experience with fickleness, it's that vacillating back and forth between things that doesn't allow anything to occur, right? This can be very, very difficult. And this is why we often, look, we go through this when we're experiencing a lot of Gemini cycles, because often those with Gemini placements come here to work into like working through the their lessons related to the array. They're lessons related to navigating through choices. And we talk a lot about the fact, like, here's the thing with choices. Choices can feel like sometimes we talk about this. There's something that is to be called the paradox of choice, which is sometimes when it feels like there's too many options, it's hard to choose or to maintain a direction. This is often where we see like FOMO, or like a fear of missing out, right? It's like, oh, you get into those moments. And this is why Cancer lessons are so beautiful, because just as we see that the Gemini often has to work with the idea of navigating through a lot of choices, Cancerian lessons have to do with following the internal compass, right? It's all about that work going inwards. This is often why we associate the Hermit card with Cancerian lessons, right? Because it's like often when you're trying to navigate a lot of choice, it can feel very confusing. But when you right, it's like the Cancerian lesson is like the gut check. You know what I mean? It's all about following through in terms of what energetically feels right. And we talk about this. We feel into a manifestation goal, right? We identify like that ability of feeling into things. This is often what puts us in deep connection with our intuition. Now, what we're effectively seeing that's occurring right now, we've got a lot of different energetic transitions that have occurred over the last few days. You'll recall we had that beautiful, and I want to say, and I need to describe it as such. And this is why I said the thing with that Sagittarius full moon is it could either feel beautiful or devastating, right? Because it's beautiful or devastating depending on the ability to embrace the sublime self, to the ability to embrace the inner self. When we talk about a lot of those Cancerian lessons, when we look at the ego like a carapace, when we look at the ego as something that protects us, the healthy ego is not one that we shed entirely, because you don't want to shed. You can't go around without an ego. It makes you too vulnerable. Okay, you're like, the ego is there for a reason, right? Because the ego, the conversation that we have in relationality to a healthy ego is understanding that the gift of our vulnerability is such that our vulnerability is something that we don't give to everyone, right? That it's something that is expressed. It's something that's shared, by those that you feel hold it sacredly, right? And when we're in a healthy space, with, and this is often, I'm going to tell you right now, this is often why you recognize one of the identifiers that you sometimes see with those who go into spiritual journeys has to do with that shattering of the egoic self. Because what happens when we have those moments that we talk about, the shattering of the egoic self, it's those modalities that you feel like you're being pulled between, right? The person who you are and the person that you express to others that you are to be. And when they become too far apart, what can happen, right? It can feel like you're trying to like stick something in something that it doesn't fit in, right? It's the constriction point of the amplification that feels like, and that's why we often talk about the fact that we see those moments, because that ability of coming into the authenticity of the self, it's talking towards, and this is why we have to like, this is why we don't get mad at our ego. This is why we don't like throw it out entirely, because the ego is effectively something that's there to protect us. And when we're in a healthy space, right, we recognize the tendency of the ego to get overprotective about things, right? It's like the defense system that like always wants to like, always wants to move into the space of making the choice for the self. And this is what we mean when we talk about shadow work. Shadow work isn't like, it's doing the conversation with the self to recognize and identify what the intentions are, right? And we do this in a healthy way, because when we are in the space that we know ourselves, right, we interrogate our intentions. We think about them. We put consideration towards them, because by doing so, right, this allows us to build into that past, like that builds into that direction of energetic clarity. But that's why I keep on seeing that energy like this could be like, I keep on seeing a lot of foundational relationships that are forming at this time, right? A lot of that stabilization. At the same time, I could also see some fragmentation that potentially may occur in aspects or circumstances where, again, right, the ability, like the intentionality of the healthy, I keep on hearing the healthy manifestation is not just one that is articulated, it is one that is embodied, right? So I keep on seeing there may be separations occurring right now in relationality to the feeling of experiencing a situation or circumstance wherein another is not embodying the manifestation. And this can feel very painful, because when another is not embodying the manifestation, one of two different things may be occurring, right? Those are either those moments where, again, we haven't healed ourselves enough. We're too like, this is the internal blockage that we may sometimes see, right? The ability to express a desire to move towards something, but an inability to embody what it takes to get there, right? This is how we can create our own internal hurdles. Or, and this is what creates even more trauma, the articulation of a manifestation that one does not necessarily embody, right? It's like it's the ability to articulate a manifestation but not truly mean it within the self. And so everything I keep on seeing is a lot. I feel like there's a lot of that unification, and I keep on hearing there's healing from situations and circumstances wherein another did not embody a manifestation. But, and this is why I keep on seeing for some of the energy in separation right now and why it feels bittersweet. How is the energy healing in that way? They're recognizing and identifying the energy that moves in accordance to it, right? Because that is the pathwork of the identification point of not simply being able to articulate like what one hopes in partnership, but also showing the dexterity, showing the internal resilience that articulates upon the ability of identifying someone that embodies the manifestation. And we have to be conscientious about this on our journeys. Center card for today's spread It's, I like to see that queen again. I like to see that queen again. We got our queen of wands. I love, one of the, and then this is why I would encourage you to head over to the Substack, because we look for evidence in terms of the cards continuing lessons. The Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands was actually in the first row. Yesterday. It was the first card that we pulled. So we see that this is a continuation of the lesson that we spoke about yesterday. Because for a lot of this space, you have to understand these are conversations that we're seeing right now as it relates to the difference between weakness and vulnerability. What is the difference between weakness and vulnerability? Okay. I told you, this is exactly what I would expect that we would be seeing as Mars is about to walk into Virgo. Okay. Because the difference between vulnerability, the difference between weakness and vulnerability is when you're weak, it's just the nature by which you are. You can't, it's not a choice. When you're weak, you're just weak, right? When you're vulnerable, you work to be weak. You work to embody the ability to allow for the vulnerability. And this is why nothing is ever stronger than the gift that we give each other in our vulnerability. It takes a lot of work to be vulnerable because it's a choice. It's a choice. And this is what we see with the Queen of Wands, right? Because we see here that the Queen of Wands has a flower or a stem or a wand. And I like this because it talks about the space of how we feel when we do that healthy spiritual work, which is the ability to find the balance, and it's the ability to be vulnerable, but also be like, don't mistake vulnerability. Don't mistake the weakness that you experience in another that's being vulnerable for weakness, because it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. So that, and again, I feel like this is where we find, like, this is what I told you. Like, this is a lot of the energy right now. I keep on seeing there are energies right now that are shifting into divine union. And this is why I keep on hearing they're saying, I found what I'm looking for. Why are they saying I'm found what I'm looking for? Because they look towards one another and they're like, get someone who can do both, right? And this is what we mean, right? For masculine, what happens when masculine is able to talk about their vulnerability, right? What happens when masculine, when, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to, what happens when masculine is able to talk about their vulnerability? This is how it feels like for masculine, right? This is masculine saying it's really hard to talk about these things. I feel kind of weak doing it because these are the things about me. This is what makes me tick. What does feminine say? That's the strongest masculine I've ever seen. The amount of strength it takes to be able to know the self, right? It's hard because it's a hard mirror to look through. The ability to look through the hard mirror, and this is the journey of the identification point of understanding. We can never shed the ego entirely, right? Like, it's nothing is more silly than someone saying, "Oh, it's great, I don't have an ego anymore." What are you talking about? You can't. Like, that's your buddy. It's not going there. But having the ego that we're proud of is understanding ourselves, understanding what makes us tick, our flaws, our weaknesses, that they become facets. And so I see here that this is the masculine approaching the feminine, saying, I'm doing my best to understand myself. Because I know that when I understand myself, I protect you and everyone I care about in the process. It's not about being perfect. It's about understanding the self. That is the perfection of the self, right? And because when we understand ourselves, when we see ourselves, we can help others see each other, right? We see ourselves clearly, and then that ability of being energetically clear about who we are is the gift that we give one another. And so we see that is how the feminine sees the masculine. While for feminine, this is how the feminine is, which is a feminine that says, look, I wish I didn't have to hold these standards, but I hold these standards because my vulnerability is a gift. And there are those who are not in healthy spaces will try to take advantage of vulnerability, right? So this is the feminine that articulates and identifies to the masculine that says, Like that is the feminine that understands that the vulnerability is the gift, but they also hold the energetic standards of the self to identify those who are deserving and worthy of it. So this is why we see that this is the masculine that sees the feminine in relationality to a feminine who, again, right? Like this is the masculine that does not see feminine as like a one-dimensional object, but embraces the feminine in both of their facets, in the strength it takes to be able to be vulnerable, right? The energy that says, recognize and identify that this vulnerability that I give you is not the quality by which you find me. It is something I work towards, right? And holding the energetic standards, this is why we see that these energies are moving towards each other, because they're building trust in the process. And if they were moving slowly, it's because they feel like there are those that they've healed from that took advantage of that vulnerability. And this is why we talk about the feeling of betrayal when we feel like we're energetically vulnerable with another and they don't hold that vulnerability sacredly. This brings us to our fourth and fifth cards in our 5-card spread. Fourth and fifth cards between are our 3 of Pentacles in its upright, in combination, with our 9 of Pentacles in its upright. So this is a lot of that. This is a lot of the energy, and I want to keep on defining here. And this has a lot to do with the work of the healthy manifestation goal, right? This is for the energy coming into divine union right now. A lot of that work is understanding that peace is found, but then we work to maintain our energetic peace, right? And that work is not one, I keep on hearing like that's not an indulgent journey. It's one that constantly challenges us with ourselves, because I keep on hearing, not confusing fear with security, right? And that's why we often talk about the ability of not being too energetically fickle, because when we're too energetically fickle, right? Being too fickle can change for the sake of change isn't a manifestation goal, right? The change is not a manifestation goal, but often those that claim that move towards change, but they aren't able to define what it is the purpose of the change is. It often can articulate an aversion to being able to be resilient in things, right? And this is why we often get traumatized by those that are too fickle with their manifestation goals, because often when someone is fickle with their manifestation goal, it can traumatize us because they articulate the fact that they want something, but then they don't show, right? They don't show the dexterity or the resilience in order to facilitate reaching that point. Right? We've all had those moments that we've experienced that kind of energetic disappointment. So that's why we see that for a lot of those energies in separation, they're almost saying to each other, I had to be sure, right? Because this is the energy that's working through the hard pathwork of understanding that sometimes those who hurt us do not do so intentionally, but they do so because they don't know themselves well enough, right? So there's a lot of wisdom that is coming through in a lot of these energetic connections. Similarly, we see that for a lot of the energy that's coming into moving deeper into divine union right now, that conversation in relationality to stabilization, right? The ability of understanding. Remember how we talked about the journey, the difficult journey in understanding that this is why building into relationship is so hard, because all of that work you did to build those standards, now it's the standards that feel like they sometimes, like all of that trauma, all of those triggers, they interrupt the healthy connection. We do that work because we understand that the healthy relationship is such that it doesn't remove our standards entirely. But when we are in a healthy relationship, we can start to become more vulnerable because we recognize and identify the counterpart who holds our standards as we would our own. And never do we feel more held than when we are in the arms of energy that holds our standards for us, because that is where we feel safe to be our most vulnerable expression of self. continuing to get clarification between our Four of Wands in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its upright. There's that Page of Swords in its reversal. This is all that conversation. Like, and this is, I'm not surprised to see this right now with Mars is about to move into Virgo. Mars is about to move into Virgo, like in a few hours. And that's the thing. And here's the thing about it. Mars in Virgo is like that. I was saying this before we started the podcast. Mars and Leo. Let's talk about the difference between Mars and Leo. Okay. And I like the energy. Like I love the journey between Mars in Leo into Mars in Virgo, because Mars in Leo is softy energy. Okay. It's like, you have to understand that Mars and Leo, like Leo is the heart space. Okay. Like Leo is the heart space. So we go through a lot of like Mars and Leo journeys, and it's the understanding of how difficult it is to share our hearts, right? It's like it's being able to communicate the feeling that we have for another, right? It's a lot of that like warrior for love kind of energy. You know what I mean? Like, I am a warrior for love. It's a lot of that. It's beautiful. And often there's a confusion point, right? When someone comes into that space of compassion, when someone sees someone in Mars when someone sees someone in Mars in Leo, there can be a misunderstanding of someone being too weak, right? Someone being too energetically vulnerable. But then you get Mars into Virgo that goes, no, baby. Don't confuse things. This vulnerability, you see, it's something that I put a lot of effort and work into. It's not easy. Don't confuse the kindness for weakness. Don't confuse the vulnerability for a lack of strength. Because often those who are vulnerable, right? Those who are vulnerable, it is the choice by which they give their vulnerability, something that is energetically treasured. And so that's why I keep seeing even now that a lot of that energy, like it feels very protective, because it's almost like the protectiveness that comes through, like welcome to Cancer energy, that says, and I like this with Cancer energy, because Cancer energy basically says, you are not cake. Not everybody deserves a slice of you. This is why we often have those situations where we don't qualify our relationships, why all of our relationships are different, because they exist in the vector of the vulnerability that we feel for one another. And that's why, that is the beauty of our relationships. They're all different, right? They're all energetically unique. They're all different combinations of energetic energy. And that's why I keep on seeing right now, if there's something happening, if there are situations or circumstances right now where someone is trying to split hairs in relationality to the quality of a relationship via comparison, this is potentially going to be creating a lot of energetic rifts right now, because you cannot, I keep on hearing, you don't qualify something that is precious. And often in the space that you qualify it, I keep on seeing, like, often in the space that you qualify it, something starts to fall apart, is what I keep on seeing. So that's why I keep on hearing, and I remember I was talking yesterday about the difference between boo and do energy, right? Which is, what is the difference between, and this is what I was saying, the difference between boo and do energy is the difference between fickleness and pragmatism, right? Which I keep on hearing, I don't like this, is not a manifestation goal. I don't like this is not a manifestation goal, right? It's coming through with the identification point of what one and what, like, we, instead of, I don't like this is not a manifestation goal. What would you prefer? It's like, what would you prefer? It is the call, right? And and that's the thing, when we have, I don't like this, we're being called right? Like that's what we like that is the conversation that we often have between Mars in Leo into Mars in Virgo, which is I don't like this. What would you prefer? Right? Like that is literally the arc of the conversation. And so I keep on seeing that if these are situations where someone is too much in the space of just like articulating their frustration, but not but almost like focusing on the frustration, this is often why we experience those moments of someone that only concentrates on the negative. But in the concentration of the negative, you can never have a productive conversation about what could be positive. Remember how we were talking a lot about the fact of the difference between critique and criticism. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Pentacles in combination with our Queen of Wands. Ooh, we got our Three of Swords here in its reversal. So for a lot of the energy that we're seeing right now, particularly with the, I love seeing a Three of Swords in its reversal, right? I love seeing a Three of Swords in its reversal because it is a conversation on the productiveness of what it takes to energetically heal something. It is the adaptability point. It is the clarification of the extension of being able to identify and recognize what vulnerability feels like. And this is what's happening with a lot of these relationships that are taking formation right now. You remember I described these as the magician partnerships. Authenticity that is the priority of the relationship. This is the energy that already feels like the trust that's being formed is the clearing of via conversation. This is why the Temperance card came up yesterday, right? The clarifying conversation that helps dispel the unhealthy illusions of the self that one may have picked up in an unhealthy relationship. The trauma tells us things about ourselves that is not true. And sometimes, and I keep on hearing, there's one of two different things that are occurring right now for a lot of these relationships. These are either situations where someone is experiencing an auric contradiction, which is to say something that used to be true of the self, but someone has healed enough in themselves that they articulate it. Another person goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see that. I don't see that. I don't see that in you, right? And that's the energy goes, like, good, that's good, that's good, right? Or, and this is the harder one, the ability to understand that one imbibed an unhealthy thought form about the self that was not true, but that one needed to imbibe in order to maintain in an unhealthy relationship. Because often the difficulty point with unhealthy relationships is the only way we would be able to persist within them is being able to believe things that are not true of ourselves. So that's why we keep on seeing, like, what is the word that we're hearing that the energy of the magician entered partnerships are hearing as they're moving deeper into union. Dispel, dispel, dispel. They're dispelling the negative thought forms about themselves that they may have picked up along the way. This is the clarification point. And that's why we see that for a lot of the energy right now, there are conversations happening about exception, because exception and excel are the same root origin. And why do we have exceptional rules for those we care about? Because the exceptional rules, as long as we are in our egoic space that's healed, it's not like those who are close to us have rules that are completely different from those around us. But when another person has built into the space of trust to us, they have excelled for us. And when someone excels for us, they become exceptional to us. And that's why they often experience exceptions in standards. But it's not the exception in standard wherein we don't hold our standards. It is the exceptional standards because we know they hold our standards for us. Because the sad truth of it is we would all prefer not to have to hold standards. But we have to hold standards because not everyone has them. Continuing to could have clarification between our Queen of Wands in its upright in combination with our Three of Pentacles in its upright. We've got here our Four of Swords in its upright. A lot of four energy today. A lot of four energy today, which I'm not necessarily, I like four energy. Four is good. 4 is stable. Okay, it's stable. Nice 4, nice stable 4, right? And that's the thing about it. I feel like there's a lot of this energy that we're seeing right now that is working towards stability. And the thing about it, I like to point out, 4, like stability, is not something that is naturally occurring. It is the gift that we bring to things. Okay. It is the gift that we bring to things. The stability that we find within ourselves is the gift that we bring to all of those around us, right? And here's the thing about it, and this is the problem with unhealthy spaces. If you are energetically stable and you're in an unhealthy space, they will fault you for being stable. Like they will fault you. They will fault you for being stable. Because that's the space or the recognition point of understanding that the things that we create within ourselves for when we build into healthy relationship, they become the energetic honor point that we find another in. But if we haven't done the work, right? And this is often, I got to tell you right now, this is often the most difficult aspect that we see in relationality to identifying and recognizing why we have to utilize discernment in relationality to how we build energetic connection. Because if we're not in a point of energy, and this is often like, I want to tell you this right now, this happens. If you're not in a healthy space, right, and you meet someone who might be the most healthy person you've ever met, they will feel completely foreign to you. They will give you energetic respect, and you will misconstrue it as insult. The courtesy, that is the difficulty with trauma. The trauma can become so profound that you can confuse courtesy when you see it. You will confound it as to something that feels unintentional. Because when you're used to energy being in a space of not being healthy, then having the civility, having the chivalry appear, it is something that feels like something that you move away from. So that's why we see, this is also what we identify as so difficult, because I just keep on seeing that one of the heavy points that I'm identifying for some of this energy that is healing right now, it's not the fact that the trauma that they experienced was intentional. Far from it, right? This is the trauma that is learned. This is the trauma that is shared. And sometimes, like, that's why I keep on hearing that the energy is trying to do the work in terms of identifying that, because that is the energy that potentially feels like they were being damaged or hurt from something in the past, wherein another person did not know themselves enough. And when we don't know ourselves enough, we have the potential of hurting those around us. So we see that, like, a lot of this work, like, this is why it feels energetically bittersweet. Because again, when we have standards and we meet someone that matches our standards, they almost look at us and say with pity and say, why did you feel like you had to say that? Why did you feel it was necessary for you to articulate that that was a need? It should be an expectation. It is the surprise that another holds as it relates to identifying the fact that we need to articulate a trauma, like a standard, that sometimes helps us identify and recognize the spaces or places that have traumatized us, right? So I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, this is why we talk about the fact that healing, like, the trauma never goes away, but the ability to have the energetic support as you navigate it, like, that is where we become, like, that is how we continue to work towards finding our peace. And this is what we see a lot of those chariot partnerships are doing right now, that are moving deeper into divine union, right? This is the energy that feels that, like, I keep on hearing the bittersweet recognition that a perfect relationship does not make the trauma go away. A perfect relationship does not go poof, there it is, it's all gone now, aren't you lucky? It doesn't work that way, right? It's not the fact that the trauma goes away. It's how you choose to face it. It's how you choose to confront it, right? A lot of work we're seeing right now with Chiron, like in very close proximity to Eris, which says the trauma doesn't go away. We just become strong enough to be able to energetically face it. And that's different. And this is what's important about Gemini. That is different and unique for each and every person. There's no way to be able to say you do this, and I guarantee that like there's no there's no magic wand you can wave and go boop boop boop. It's like there you go, it's gone. It's finding that force within. It's finding the ability to be able to energetically face something and still to do so in a place that allows you to be peaceful through it, right? There's a lot of this energy here. This is Saturn coming in. I told you, this is Saturn coming into Aries, because I told you what's the thing with Saturn? Aries is always running away from Saturn. Okay, Aries is always like, I gotta get out of Saturn. Saturn here, I gotta go. The guy's been chasing me my whole life. And Saturn keeps on trying to catch up to Aries and be like, buddy, I'm just trying to give you a message. Okay, I'm just trying to give you a message. I'm not your enemy, man. I'm your friend. I'm here to help you. All right, continuing to get clarification between our 3 of Pentacles in combination with our 9 of Pentacles. And that's the thing about it. Like everybody's getting like a bit of everybody's getting a Saturn return right now, because it's the with Saturn, with Aries, with Saturn moving into Aries, everybody is experiencing time right now the way that an Aries would. And the thing with Aries is Aries thinks there's nothing more precious. It is nothing more precious than the time that we share. So that's why I feel like, again, I feel very positive about the fact that we've got Aries in Saturn. I mean Saturn in Aries, because it very much is about, I keep on hearing Aries, Saturn in Aries is all about focused efforts, is all I keep on hearing. Continuation between our 3 of Pentacles in combination with our 9 of Pentacles. There you go. The Fool. There we go. There's that Fool card, right? And that's perfect, because again, I have a bit of a different astrological interpretation on the cards than others do. And for me, Fool card is straight up Aries energy. Like Fool card is straight up energy, Aries energy, which is that ability. And I keep on hearing like, this is a time. I want to show you, right? The time of cycles. Understanding the nature of a cycle in order to close it. And this is how we close a cycle. We don't say you're not done. Like you're not finished a cycle when you're finished. You can say you're finished. You're not finished. You close a cycle when you understand the nature of it. So that's why I see that there's a lot of energy right now that feels like they're coming to the completion of an energetic cycle. But what's on the other side of it? A fresh beginning, right? New lessons, new path work, understanding. And this is a lot of that I keep on seeing, like, that is what is, and this is the painful thing for some of this energy and separation, right? This isn't the energy that says, I want to wait until this feeling goes away. This is the energy that says, I carried it with me for the rest of my days. This is what we do with trauma, right? We don't, often the problem is when we experience trauma, we have those moments and I say, oh, I'm just going to wait till this goes away. And it never effectively goes away. But we find a way to carry it. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Swords in its reversal in combination with our 3 of Swords in its reversal. Woo! There's that 8 of Wands, and it is in its upright. And I like this. This is a good day. This is a good day for communication. It's a good day for productivity. And I keep on seeing that the thing about it, I'm just going to tell you right now, because, so I want to articulate the key word for today. I'm just going to put it this way, okay? The key word for today is a productive conversation. Productive, okay? I want whatever you're experiencing right now, okay? I want you to remember this moment. Productive conversation. Okay? Productive conversation. Because I see even now, like the thing I'm identifying that is occurring. And I keep on seeing like there's something I'm seeing here that's happening in relationality. I see energy moving in alignment with energy that is embodied manifestation is what I'm seeing. So the ability, and I got to tell you right now, this is why I'm going to walk you guys through it. When we experience embodied manifestation, then the first thing we sometimes feel is the audacity. Okay, the audacity. And why does the audacity come up? Because the embodied manifestation, right? The embodied manifestation, the desire to speak upon what one desires, and also the rigor of the self that allows one to get there. When you see that, when you understand the full package of the manifestation, it can sometimes create a lot of audacity in relationality to experiences where you feel like another was not as integrated, or you feel like another was not in a space where they were able to embody the things that they effectively articulate, or that something that the opposition between what one says and what one does feels so disparate. So that's why I keep on hearing right now that there's something about that work that almost like I can almost see some energy trying to come back into union, and someone else having the misconception that they're repeating back into a cycle, right? Like I can see there may be some misconceptions right now in relationality to what is energetically happening, especially if these are circumstances. I keep on hearing healthy relationship is not a situation that we leave until conditions improve, right? Healthy relationship is being able to put the work in. So you can understand why there may be some moments right now that are potentially happening where I see energy, right? Like I almost feel like there's some energy that's trying to move forward, and suddenly there's like, surprise, 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 surprise. Like there's a misconception potentially of what's happening as it relates. I keep on hearing like relationship is not like taffy. You don't stretch it out to see how much distance you can create and come back again. It's the ability to work on things together. And that's what's happening with a lot of these relationships that are taking shape right now. They're understanding what it means to feel like they're energetically integrated. It's Cancerian lessons, right? I keep on hearing Cancerian lessons are, and this is the funny thing with cancers, because cancers know this very well. This is often something that cancers need, because cancers sometimes need to like take little breaks. Sometimes cancers sometimes need to walk away. Cancers sometimes need, I need to go clear my head. But the nice thing about healthy cancers, and this is what we experience with healthy cancers, right? It's not just about going away. It's about being able to articulate upon the fact that we even if we need the difference between a breath and a vacation is, I keep on hearing like that's what I hear about the distance that a Cancerian needs, right? And this is the thing about it. The difference between a breath and a vacation is how healthy like Cancerian lessons are, because when cancers, like like those with Cancerian placements know that often sometimes Sagittarians are like this too, right? And this is what I meant about some of this energy being a little provocative, because Sages and Cancers, right, when they feel triggered, they know like it's having to work through the fact that you know that you're easily triggered. But when it's not about getting rid of the trigger, it's about being able to take care of the self as one is feeling triggered. Cancers and Sages often have this tendency of being like, I need to get out of here, because if I don't, it's not going to be pretty. Cancers and Sages are like, I have to go away for a minute, right? But it's the difference between a breath and a vacation, because the healthy energy, when we know ourselves, right? When we know ourselves, we say to someone like, I just need a minute. I'll be back in a sec, right? Versus when we're too afraid of something that we can't confront, and we just disappear, and nobody knows where we are, right? And that's why we see that a lot of this work, this is why I keep on seeing that there's something that may be coming up right now as it relates to a situation where another person is trying to repeat a cycle and another person is welcoming the repetition with the cycle, with the observation of the audacity of the cycle, right? Because often this is what happens, like, is all I keep on seeing. So that's what I meant about making sure that you're navigating something that feels like an energetically productive conversation. The key word is productive. Whether it feels like, and like, whether it feels like it helps, or whether it feels like it just moves you back into something that you're trying to heal from. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Swords in its reversal in combination with the Four of Swords in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Oh, we got the seven. Yeah. Seven of Cups in its reversal. So for a lot of the energy right now, that is, we're going to talk, I want to talk a little bit right now about the energy. There's energy that is, why is energy shifting so much today? Hold on a minute. Oh, there's a lot of alignment today. So there's energy that's shifting right now, is everything I keep on seeing. And that's good, because it feels like a positive shift. But the thing that we're identifying in relationality to the positive shift is, and I keep on seeing this right now, a lot of the work is, and like the shift that we see that's occurring is the identification point in understanding, like, what one is moving towards. And you'll remember how I mentioned that for a lot of those chariot relationships, these are chariot relationships right now that are moving deeper into divine union. And for a lot of those chariot relationships, remember how I was talking about the fact that the manifestation goal was changing? This is the manifestation goal that's changing. But for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, that is holding oneself to a higher standard, right? And that's the thing about it. This is a lot of that energy that is learning how to be vulnerable again. They're doing that hard work. And the reason that they're learning to be vulnerable again is this is the energy that understands that that vulnerability is not weakness, because we are weak when we cannot choose to be weak. We are vulnerable when we choose to be vulnerable. And this is why we see that those relationships are moving deeper into divine union, because that is the energy that sees another in their vulnerability, and they don't see it as weak. They see it as exceptional. And it's in that moment of exceptionality we allow for that context by which that is the energy that feels safe in the embrace, even safer in the embrace of counterpart, because this is the energy that says, never have I felt more vulnerable. Never have I felt more safe. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Swords in combination with our Fool card, sticking to the bottom of the table, much like our Pluto retrograde to do. There's that Six of Pentacles in its reversal. And this is why, this is why I keep on hearing we don't compare relationships to one another. Like, you ever like, and here's the thing about it, because, and when I keep on hearing, when we are in a space of appreciating that much like relationships, just like people, are like snowflakes. Like, no two are alike, right? The ability of understanding the unique qualities and characteristics of a relationship are such that they change for person and person and person, right? I keep on hearing, like, that is why we continue, like, that is why when we're in a healthy relationship, we embody the exceptional qualities and characteristics of partnership. And that's often why relationships can be damaged when we start getting into the space of energetic comparison, because, like, it's not, and I keep on hearing, it's because you have to understand that when you are in a space where you honor that relationships are different, then you appreciate and recognize the qualities and characteristics of what is created between, right? But often, and here's the thing about it, the ego sometimes when the ego is too much, it often desires, what is the word that, what is the thing that the ego often says? More, right? The ego always wants to move into the vibration of more. But that's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of positive work that's happening right now for relationships where I keep on hearing honoring the exquisiteness of exceptional partnership, right? The unique quality and condition by which we create with another. And at the same time, I almost feel like these are like, especially for energy and separation, these are healing from situations or circumstances where comparison was often being utilized to try to engender change in another. And I keep on hearing, never are we more damaging partnership than when we start comparing our partners to other partners or things of that nature. Because when we start comparing, we are projecting, right? Because when we compare, we project, because we say you're not fulfilling the role that I would prefer that you fill, right? So that's why I keep on hearing, like, often things can start to crumble when we start doing that work and projecting and comparing. Because when we compare, we project. And when we project, we're basically saying you're not filling the role that I am ascribing to you in the projected experience that you are not existing within. Continuing to get clarification between our 8 of Wands in combination with our 7 of Cups. Yep, and I keep on hearing this. There are no roles. It's not a bakery. There are no roles in healthy partnership. This is not a bakery. There are no roles in healthy partnership. There are no roles in healthy partnership. There are. It's not about being able, like, when we are in. Yeah, it's not about roles. It's about counterpart, right? Which is like, again, the way I like to put it is like, if your counterpart asks you for something, you don't look at them and go, "I'm sorry, that's not my job." You know what I mean? Like, you don't look at them. You don't look at them and go, "No, I'm sorry, that's not my job." Right? Like, it's like, like that's, but often when we're in unhealthy partnership, someone will come towards us and be like, "You're not filling your role." It's not, it's the understanding. I keep on hearing, we show up for each other. Right? We show up. That's why it's not like, why it's not a bakery. We show up and and this is like the Gemini energy, right? Like, a healthy relationship is not saying, "I did what I have to do." It's saying, "What do you need?" Right? It's like, "What do you need? What do you need? What do you need today?" Right? It is the fluency of healthy partnership that says, right? Like, it is how we become a counterpart, which isn't the feeling of saying, like, "Okay, I've checked off my partnership duties today," right? It's the ability of arriving to each day and being able to assist one another in that state of being energetically adaptable that allows us the context by which we're able to build into the shape of healthy partnership, right? It's the journey of counterparts, not roles. Continuing to get clarification between our 7 of Cups and this is why. And remember how I said that there may be some issues today in conversation, right? I feel like if these are situations where someone's separated and was like, "Okay, and now we do this," someone's going the audacity and being like, "Wait, what?" Right? Because it's like the space of saying, like, they're like I keep on hearing, like, only healthy patterns in partnership, not unhealthy cycles. Continuing to get clarification between our 7 of Cups in its reversal and our 6 of Pentacles in its reversal. There's that 10. This spread today is stunning. If you have a chance, make sure that you head over to our Substack and take a look at it. We'll be posting it there when we post the podcast. We've got the 10 of Pentacles, which is, And I feel like the thing that's important to recognize here is when you look for problems, you will see problems everywhere. But if you look for solutions, then everything is an opportunity to begin. When you look for problems, you will see problems everywhere. But when you look for solutions, then everywhere is an opportunity to begin. It also requires one to be in the space with another who sees that in the same modality, right? So I keep on hearing, like, this is what I like so much about this Cancerian energy that we're experiencing right now. It's the reminder that your gifts will not be appreciated in unhealthy spaces. That in fact, the gifts that you have will be articulated as the problem, right? If someone is not in a space where they're embracing their authenticity, your authenticity is gonna feel like it's a rubbing reminder of what another person denies themselves, right? If you are in a space where you're being honest and another person is not in a space of being of embracing their honesty, then yeah, listen, your honesty will grate on another, right? And that is the difficulty point. Like, the truth is, some trauma is healed via proximity. We cannot heal in unhealthy spaces. We see this with trauma. So I keep on seeing that and this is often why we sometimes feel called back to places that have hurt us, because the emotional body really wishes, right? Like, the emotional body's trying to make sense of something that didn't happen. So we got to go back there. We must have done something wrong to deserve that. And the logical mind sometimes says no, right? Seven of Swords energy. You don't go back to the sword store expecting puppies or kittens. You only find swords there. So what I keep on seeing is a lot of this energy right now. It feels, it's interesting. I'm trying to read into the shift that's happening with a lot of the energy and separation. And the word I keep on hearing is nourishment. Nourishment. And I feel like this is potentially a lot of the energy and separation moving out of the magician energy, the desire for authenticity and partnership, and moving into temperance, because I often associate nourishment with temperance energy, which is to say that the journey of the self, wherein we feel appreciated, is one that we don't feel like we're in a lack state, but it's one where we feel like we are fed things that are healthy for us. And and again, when you're around someone that's in a trauma space and you're trying to be positive, what are they going to say you are? Someone who's traumatized sees you positive, they're going to say you're delusional. But that's because they're imbibing the unhealthy qualities and characteristics of things, right? So if it's not a question, if it's good for you, if you look great in it, it's not delusional, it's nourishing, right? You can't like, it's nourishing. Right? It's a lot of that. It's working into the context of understanding and recognizing that what is good for us is by evidence good for us if it's energetically working. And that's why we have to, like, that's why there is no patch on spirituality. It's not like you'd be like, I did this, now everything's fine, I don't feel anything. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's understanding, it's the identification of understanding what that means to us. And when we find healthy counterpart, it even means in counterpart connection, we don't need to necessarily believe the exact same things, but we honor the space that everyone gets nourishment in different ways. Continuing to get clarification, final card for today's spread, between our 8 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our 10 of Pentacles. I already know what this card's going to be. Hanged Man. This is the difficulty point, And this is the thing. I know this is hard. I know this is complicated about spirituality and life in any context. Something that might be nourishing for you might not be nourishing for another person. Something that you hold dear, if another person held it, like, it's not good for them, right? It's not about forcing things on each other, right? Because when we force things, we forget the fact that we're all energetically unique, right? I might do things that totally work for me. If I tell you to do them, might not work for you. We assess, right? We understand, we energetically calibrate. And so that's why we talk about a healthy spiritual journey is one that we understand becomes unique to us, because it's one that we effectively identify. Like, that's what I mean. It's like it's a personal experience. And that's why we recognize, but it's not exceptional in the space of saying that the way you embody it is not something that you would not give to another. But when we hold each other, and this is the irony of it, it's not exceptional because everyone can have it, but we are exceptional within it because it becomes personal to us and we all experience it differently. That's what you call a miracle, right? That's why it's energetically miraculous. And I keep on seeing that so too are our relationships, because when we have miraculous relationships, we understand that they embody things. This is why often the experience of being known, it feels like everyone knows a different side of us. And that's not, when we're in a healthy space, that's not because we're being duplicitous. It's because the energetic connection we make with another is identifiably a unique thread. It's a unique thread that we create between ourselves. And in that space, the authenticity of that feels like it is the facet of ourselves. It becomes that energetic expansion. And so that's why we see that a lot of the energy right now coming into union, what is the key word I keep on hearing and identifying? Discernment. Discernment. This is energy that is healing by utilizing discernment. And discernment is the identification aspect of whether another holds and often it is the mutual space of understanding the preciousness that we hold to ourselves, right? The way we hold ourselves is precious, but also not precious, but not exceptional, because we are healed when we identify ourselves as precious. And we identify others as precious, and we're not exceptional in our preciousness, which means we utilize discernment to see if others are doing so as well. And that's why I see that this is a lot of that energy, those magician partnerships that are coming into fruition, because these are the energies that took the time and they're feeling not only the manifestation, but they're seeing the embodiment of the manifestation that is building them into the trust that they're healing in relationality to someone who doesn't just articulate the manifestation, but someone who moves in accordance to it, right? And in the ability of seeing that, they're starting to heal from experiences where it felt like another disappointed them because they were not embodying the manifestation. While for masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union, this is a lot of that energy that is understanding that they're embodying the journey even more, and they're recognizing that the thing that they had to learn in order to come into connection, they're now working to disassemble within, because that is what vulnerability is, right? Vulnerability is the ability to be strong by choice. And when we build into healthy relationship, the next part of the journey is being able to be vulnerable again. So we see even now, like there's a lot of that energy that is setting their intention upon that work. While for masculine and feminine, that is deep within divine union, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, this is what I meant about the manifestation. And this is why, and this is where and I got to point out right now, what we're seeing right now is the chariot partnership moving deeper in divine union, because their manifestation goals are changing too. The manifestation goal is changing in relationality to what qualities and characteristics they're hoping to bring out in themselves that they never considered before, because the relationship itself has already changed them to open themselves up to the possibilities of who they can become. Bottom card for today's spread, 9 of Swords in its upright. This is not to say that things are perfect right now, right? It's not to say that things are perfect. Far from it. It's not about, again, it's not about identifying perfect. And a lot of that work, I keep on seeing, there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of aggravation. There's a lot of energetic fury that is being released right now. But I keep on hearing the fury that is sung is in relationality to the things that we know are energetically important, right? And that's why I see, like, that's what I meant about the difference between boo and do, which is, I told you how a lot of the work that we're doing this year is honoring our no, is being able to articulate upon what is important to us and finding voice in doing so. This is a lot of like that expression. There's a lot of that continue. I feel like this is like the message coming through with Mars and Leo, which is effectively to say that our ability to give voice to our frustration is how we energetically rise to the challenge of ourselves, because that is the ability that articulates upon, again, the sacred knot of the higher self, which is able to identify and recognize that it's okay to hold rage to things if they're energetically important, right? And the way you can usually tell if the anger or the frustration you feel is in a healthy space is having the conversation with the self, right? Because often when we hold anger towards things and we ask ourselves, why are you upset about that? And we say, I don't like it, I don't want it, that's not a reason. That's often an indication of the point of the fact that it's coming from the ego. But when we're feeling upset about something and we ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? The higher self says, sit down. I'll make you a cup of tea. We'll talk about this all day. We will never stop talking about it. I cannot impress to you how important this is. So make sure that you're having those, that's what I meant about productive conversation. Identify, don't just express how you're feeling that is frustrating. Find a way to constructively articulate upon why it is so important, what it is that you're trying to change, why it has meaning, and what it takes to get there. That is where we find all of the energy. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. I also want to let you guys know of a couple of updates. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our class last week on the Temperance card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot, on focusing on the Devil card. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied in the classes, but now is a perfect time to join if you want to catch up. You got a whole month ahead of you to bone up on classes. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me to ask any questions you may have in relation to anything that we've studied or are currently learning. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also have access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library. That is access to over 15 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library. You will also have access to, so if you choose to receive one, a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best advantage towards your personal tarot goals moving forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, please follow me there, because there you'll be able to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my collaborations and online schedule. You'll also receive my Mystic Meditation articles, which give you recaps on what we've been seeing energetically in article form. You'll also get to see each day's spread, which I post there with the podcast. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm very happy to now offer as well dream interpretation readings. You can purchase these per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.